Good Monday morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, I can't believe February is almost over. But you guys listening to me, Amy, Russell, Dina, and our lovely author guest, Deborah, and this is Author Talk. So, you guys, let's chime in for the weekend, okay? Because I have crazy stories that are not my stories, they're Josh's stories. So, if you guys listened to the show last week, I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but Josh has gone out of town and he had this whole thing planned. He was in Houston, then he was in Dallas, then he was in Colorado, and then he did like a ski train and tried to snowboard and ski, and then came back on late Saturday night to Houston and then drove home. So he was crazy. So I was just
I
keeping my
want to
kids
do
alive.
that.
It was
That's awesome.
yeah. So he got to go and do all that and live vicariously in Colorado for a little bit, which you would never find me in because snow is not my thing. So he was thoroughly enjoyed it. I was keeping our kids alive. So I've survived, you guys. They're alive. They're at school. They are having a good time. Just if it could be May, I just need to make it to May, you guys. But that is my weekend in a nutshell. Oh, and my candle right here. Dina, you weren't on, but Bath and Body Works has all of their Disney princess stuff back out, and I
Okay,
went
let's not go
crazy.
through that
I
conversation
went
again.
crazy last
Ah,
week. And so my Aurora candle is on display today and is smelling wonderfully.
you're
So,
killing me.
what else did you guys do this weekend? I hope you went and bought the Disney candles and all the scents and the glitters because I'm here for it. So, I hope you did that. But what else did you guys do? So, Russell, what did you do this weekend?
Well, I wasn't near as cool as Josh.
Yeah.
This is like a great weekend. He probably only had like 12 hours at the ski place, right?
Yeah, they
I
took like
mean,
a 2-hour train ride up there and then back.
right? Did the ski and then came back. It sounds awesome. I would love to do that. Uh, I would. This is the beginning of spring in the
Mhm.
tropics where I live again, and near where you live, where Dina lives, the opposite of where Deborah lives. So this is like farmers market time. They're all
Yeah.
starting again, and I do this health smoothie every day, and part of the formula is honey. And I try to get the darkest, local, unfiltered, dirty honey I could possibly buy because
Oh,
that's the healthiest stuff you can use. And you
okay.
get that from farmers markets.
Okay.
And so this whole weekend, I was going to farmers markets with Rita, my dog. And of course, I'm the most popular person at every farmer's market because everyone wants to pet and talk to
Well,
Rita, right?
Rita's the most popular. You're her handler.
Her
Rita's the most popular.
But yeah, anyway, you're right. So I did nothing, right?
Yeah.
I went and enjoyed I always wanted to have a dog that was like one of those farmers markets dogs, and now I have one. Perfectly obedient, everyone loves. And now I have one. It's fun.
Do you get the
Stupid,
honey
but it's fun.
with the honeycomb in it? Is that the honey that you
I
get?
do not.
Okay.
I the honey I buy, and I'm always shopping for these protein health smoothies.
Mhm.
I get is it's almost black. It's so dark. The
Okay.
darker, the better, because that's the healthiest. Uh, and it helps you with all anything, all your
Allergies and
allergies,
stuff.
everything. It's like
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
it's
if you use locally sourced honey because it's the bees are picking up the pollen and the stuff for the plants around
Yeah.
your vicinity, it helps you. It's best for your system.
Well, have you guys seen that? I don't know. I'm gonna mispronounce it, and Russell, you're gonna just laugh at me. But like the Manuka honey.
Manuka honey.
Yeah, have you guys has anyone had that? Like, I don't know. It comes from I think it said like New Zealand or something, and I don't know. I feel like it's not going to help with my allergies if it's from New Zealand and I have Texas allergies. But I've
right.
always wanted to try it, but I don't want to pay the price tag for it. So I wanted one of you guys to have tried it to tell me if it was worth it. But I guess
Now I'm going to
have
have to
it.
try it. Yeah,
Okay,
My
you
mom
I'll
has
look
try it.
for it. I'll try it. I may even bring you some.
Hey, let me know if it's any good. I want to know.
well, my mom has used to buy it, but I don't think she buys it anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I like to put honey and stuff too, like when I don't have to do a lot of sugar.
You
Just
should get local, like College Station crud, dark honey.
oh
Put that in your
God,
tea
College Station
because you're
stuff has
allergic to
all.
everything. You're
I
allergic to
mean,
everything.
I'm just allergic to Aggie Land is what I'm
I know.
allergic to.
So you should use honey from Aggie.
I
It's a
know. I
thing.
probably should. I probably should. But
I would think there would be a lot of beekeepers around your
I
area.
would too.
maybe, probably up in like Iola or Franklin. I don't see very often here, but I don't know. I will. I'm on the hunt for it. I'm on the hunt for it. But Dina, Deborah, what did you guys do this weekend? Who wants to go first?
I just worked.
Okay.
Oh, I I shoveled a lot of snow because
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see behind me, but I have this little, I call it my corner office. The house that we have in Michigan's Upper Peninsula was built in the early 1900s,
Mhm.
and they had outdoor porches even upstairs. And now this one has been
Nice.
enclosed for a number of years. So this little 8 foot by 4 foot space is my office, and so I can see out from two directions because I have a window ahead of me behind my computer, and then I have two windows over here on the side, so I can see what's going up and down all along our street. And what I'm seeing today is, as it's been for the last several days, a lot of snow. For those of you that don't know Michigan, okay, everybody knows the mitten. Well, I'm the other hand and the other thumb that sticks out wide.
Where are you on that other hand?
So we get even more late because I myself go in and out on the screen. Any rate, I shoveled snow again. It's a very good workout, by the way.
Where are
Lots
you
of
on the
muscle
other
power
hand?
and upper body and
She's the thumb on the other hand.
You're the
right about
thumb?
there, right in that.
Oh my gosh, you're
Yeah,
in. Well, it
right.
really is
Yeah,
heaven
I'm the
then,
other
isn't it?
thumb. If you
Yeah.
in the summer,
Yeah. That's enough.
if you've ever looked at a map, Lake Superior looks like a wolf's head. And the Keweenaw Peninsula is the mouth. There's a big 300-inch high, it looks like a thermometer, but it's a snowmometer. And every year they mark how many inches were previous season, and they keep track of it. The highest ever was a little over 300 inches, and the lowest ever was like about 90 inches. I had to laugh. There were these two guys from Great Britain that were touring the United States and made it into the Upper Peninsula a couple of weeks ago. And they did a YouTube thing in front of that snowmometer. And they were looking at it and saying, "You gotta be kidding me." And then they looked at the minimum amount on the one side of me, pointed to the minimum amount, which was like twice his height, and said, "You gotta be kidding me." So it's just something we live with up here. In fact, it's there. We shovel, and we shovel a lot. So we keep in really great upper body shape, and
That's good.
so that's what I
Nice.
did most of the weekend, and sit in my little corner office and do some more writing.
I
Nice.
wish I
Well,
was there to help.
not with the snow. Snow's not my thing. But I will give you moral support. I will definitely do that 100%. But Russell, it's your moment to shine.
Shine what? I did farmer's market. I did honey.
Our listeners, Russell.
I'm so stupid. Okay. Dina, I must be the one. This can't wake up yet.
I love
Hey,
it.
we've got to thank everybody that's listening to us. Uh, though I didn't know what I was about to say before Amy reminded me, we are very, very grateful you listen to us. We're top 1% good pods, top 10% on some of the other podcast channels on book interviews. And we very much thank you. We've been doing this 10 years. For a long time, it was just on YouTube. Then we started podcasts, but I could never find us. It was like, it was a mystery where we were. Amy changed some things. Even I can find us. I'm a boomer. I can even find us now. And so you can find us too. Amy, where can they find us?
Yeah, you guys, it's Russell can find us, and this is not a dig towards Russell. Like if he can find
No,
us,
it's a
literally
fact.
everybody now can find us, you guys. But no, so my go-to is Amazon Music or Spotify. I'm an Android user, so Google Play. If you have an iPhone, iTunes would be a place. Type in Author Talk, look for the crimson, red, and gold logo and graphics that Dina Ray actually did for us in rebranding. You can go and listen to every single one of our shows. If you want to come and watch us on our YouTube channel or our social media, our Facebook group, any of our social media channels, you can and have a good laugh. Usually Valerie's on here and she's the one that freezes in quite epic poses. So you want to make sure that you tune in for that. And as Russell will tell you numerous times on numerous shows, I control what comes out of my mouth, but not my facial expressions. And I'm very animated and talk a lot with my hands. So if you want to come over and laugh with us, at us, we're generally probably doing the same thing. You can go to any one of those channels and do it. We love engaging with you, asking your questions, getting answers to them, and hearing from you. So you can go over to any one of those channels, do that. But I actually, before we dive into getting Deborah talking about her books, I want to do this first before rounding out. But I want to know what was one of the best books so far that everyone has read. I want to know because I have one. That's
For
not
the
what
year
period?
or
No,
yeah.
for the year so far. So it's only February. Okay. So far this year that you've read, and I guess we can do half of last year too if you want. What was like the best book that you have read that you would like recommend?
Oh,
I pass.
without a doubt, Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books. Can't think of the author's name right now. Kristen something or other. Fantastic book. So full of things to think about in issues of, people who try to ban books, people who, intentionally read books that are banned. It's just a great novel with wonderful characters. And highly recommend it. Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books.
Nice. Russell, what about you?
Well, I'm still finishing because you have to read it twice. It's the Romans. It's about the 3,000-year history of the Roman Empire.
Oh, wow.
And you have to read it twice because it's one of those nonfiction books that's just packed with the kind of statistics that people that love it are interested in and anyone else would find boring. And I like this stuff. So I'm reading it twice so I can retain more of it. So that's the book I'm reading so far for the year. And I
Nice.
mentioned it before. It's a project.
You have. And Dina passed. So mine it's actually a reread from earlier last year, but Corrupted Chaos by Shane Rose. It is probably my favorite up there with Dina's book that she hasn't published, but it is up there with it. And so I did reread it because I was kind of in between books and I was kind of going through like reader fatigue, I guess, because I was reading so many client books and then trying to find one that I just enjoyed. So I went back and reread that one because it's just a good one. So that one is one of my favorites. I do recommend that one. Yes.
I have a question. Dina, why haven't you published your book yet? Amy loves your book. It must be good. Why haven't you published it yet?
We're working on it.
I got to take some stuff out, put some stuff in. I got to figure out how I've got to pivot.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
Yeah.
So you're working on it is the answer.
yeah,
Mhm.
when I get time, but I don't have
Unders-
any time. I seriously don't have any time. I'm so far behind. I can't see daylight, to tell you the truth.
Well, I'm dying to read it because Amy swears by your book. So
I
I'm
could have
dying to
sworn
read it.
we sent it to you.
I'll send it to you. I have no
Send it
problem.
to me.
I'll send it to you.
If Dina gives me
She
permission.
does. She does. Yeah, she does for sure. Well, Dina, let's get Deborah talking about her writing career, her journey, and all of her books. So, Dina, take it away.
Yeah, so I really want to talk about your book, Sisu, Living on Sisu,
Mhm.
because it came out several years ago. And
Right. Yeah. Living on Sisu first came out in 2009. I got the idea for it back in 2001 when I attended a local theater production on this strike, the 1913 copper strike in here in the copper country. And after the production, I bought a book about it and started reading it and thought, wow, I'd like to do something on this topic. And I realized that while there was lots and lots of good nonfiction for adults, there was nothing that young people could read. And this is an important part of the state history and a huge part of local history. So I set about to do the research and spent about 3 years on that. And 2 years after I finished the research, I brought the book out with the help of a Copper Country philanthropist, Dr. Robert Nera, who provided me with the funds I needed to do the cover, the interior design, and all of that, which Rita Mills with ABC's Press did the first time around. And so then we got it going. And then I wanted to do a standard print run at first and got 2,000 copies printed. And they were gone in a couple of years. So then I had it fixed up so that I could do it on Lightning Source. And it came out in 2009. And that year I won the Purple Dragonfly Award for Excellence in Children's Literature in the historic fiction category. I don't have either logo on this cover because this is one of that original print run of 2000. It's sold very well. I don't even know how many copies I've sold beyond that 2000, a lot. Many of the school districts up in this area use it in class in grades 4 and grade 7, because all across the country, students study their state history in grades 4 and grade 7. Then this year, the committee that does the UP notable book list declared it a UP notable classic. Only 2 books per year are chosen for that honor, and I was one of them this year, and I was thrilled. So now I'm in the process of working with my new publisher, and we're reworking the cover. The UP notable logo will go right here, and the other logo from the Purple Dragonfly will go on the back. We kind of redesigned the back cover and making some other changes to put it out fresh, correct a few errors that have been there for all those years, and put it out in a newer edition with upgraded, doing new scans of all of the photographs that are in it, because I originally, I did a lot of research on the photographs, like this one. This is from Finlandia University's archives. It's a portrait of a young girl receiving, dressed for high school graduation, which not very many girls did in 1913. In the book, my character is not this age, but she has dreams of getting to this point. And then all through the book, I had photos of Well, let me get to one that's a little more dramatic. Scenes that were taken underground of the actual mining operations here in the copper mines, and some of the disasters that could take place. I don't know. You probably can't see the details very well. But there you can see where the the top of that tunnel has collapsed. That's called the hanging wall, by the way. Any rate, I had all these very dramatic photos from Michigan Tech University archives, from Finlandia National Archives, and from the Keweenaw National Historical Park. And we're getting all of those rescanned and updated because the technology now is much better than it was in 2009. The photos will print more clearly. They won't look as pixelated and grainy as they have in the past, because we have better technology now. So we're in the process of doing that. Hope to finish it up soon and have it back up, online and on my website and through Ingram and everything else. So it's a celebration of that book again, and all of this weather we've had, the blizzard, especially on Wednesday and Thursday, have reminded me that my character Emma had to cope with all of that. And a lot of what I wrote about her in the winter came out of my own experience. One thing I have her doing is, in walking in a blizzard, she turns her back to the wind and walks backwards to get somewhere. And that's something that I did as a child, because you have that cold blizzard wind blowing in your face. It's not real pleasant. And if you're only walking a short distance, like I would going home from school, it was easier to just turn your back and walk backwards and not have your face constantly stung with blowing snow. And other things like that Emma does in the winter, and that people used to do. One of the fun things that I found, it was a biography of Annie Clement, who was very active in the strike in 1913. In a biography about her, they told of how kids then, in those old salt box type mining houses, the snow would get so deep that they would open up an upstairs window and jump out the window into the snow. That was one of the ways to have fun when you were a child. Yeah, Russell, you're nodding your head on that.
I've done that.
Yeah, right. But you have to imagine how deep the snow can get for you to jump out of a second-story window into it. And so there are things like that I shared in that fun too. And I knew what Emma, to a certain degree, what Emma was going through in the cold and other things. And I could do that from my own perspective. So there's a lot of little bits of me in there. There's bits, family stories from my grandparents who were married in 1904 and lived away from the copper country until a little bit after the strike. But one of the stories that my mother always told me was how my grandmother hired young girls to help her in her house and taught them the finer points of housekeeping, and sheltered them, fed them, had them actually live in her home. And then when they got a little older and got married, she'd hire that girl's younger sister. And it went through a whole family of girls that way, always helping them out, preparing them for adulthood, teaching them things that they weren't going to be able to learn otherwise. And a lot of that went into the experience with that Emma has with a couple, Chester and Jesse not Richards. I used my grandparents' first names, Chester and Jesse, but I changed the last name because I have my fictional people living in a little town called Lorium, and my grandparents were actually 4 miles down into a little valley called Lake Linden. So I didn't want to use exact names when I was dealing with fictional characters. I borrowed from real names, but I didn't use exact real names unless there was historically a person like that. So there's a lot of that enters into it from my experience, from tales that I heard from my grandparents, from a great aunt, and others who, over the years, those stories stuck with me, and they were the right era. So I built them in to the story with Emma, and then other little things like the Finnish people have a type of cheese that they make called juustoa. It's a baked cheese. After it's curdled, it's baked a little bit, so it's brown on the top. Sometimes it's called squeaky cheese because it kind of squeaks when you chew on it. And it's a very mild cheese. And I was having coffee with a friend of mine who grew up in the Trap Rock Valley on a farm, and they made juustoa, and she still knew how to make juustoa. And she was making it the morning that we were having coffee together. And I said, Nancy, I got to go get my notebook. I got to write down what you're doing because I'm going to use this somehow. And the information she gave me that day worked its way into a scene where Emma's mother is teaching her how to make the juustoa. And then when it's done, she cuts off a piece of it and wraps it up in a piece of cloth, because they didn't have wax paper and stuff like that. And said, now you got to go take this to Mrs. Idema. That's the last of what I owe her for sewing your confirmation dress. And that was what people did back then. One person in the neighborhood had a cow. Another one raised a pig in their backyard. Somebody else had chickens. Somebody else was really good at sewing, and they would trade all these things with each other. Bartering system. Emma's family has a cow. And so she makes the juustoa, and she has all the raw milk, and she trades that for cheese, or she trades it for eggs or for pork or some other neighbor. And that was how they did with each other, because nobody had enough money to go and buy all of that at the grocery store, if the grocery store even had it. Yeah.
Dana, I have a question. Can I ask it?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I had three questions. So, how did the strike end in 1913? How did the war in 1914 affect that? And are you using AI to improve your pictures for your next edit of your book?
No, we're not using any AI. We're just having them rescanned at a higher DPI, or dots per inch.
So, how are you dealing with the age and the darkness that age puts into photographs?
Well, these have all been preserved indoors in archives where they aren't exposed to natural light. And a lot of them have been digitized, but the originals are still in these different archives. You don't actually ever touch the originals. You look at copies online and you say, okay, this is the one that I want. And they get out that negative number and then scan it however you ask them to scan it, which for me was a TIFF image at 600 DPI if they could, or at least 300. Now,
okay, so are you, wait. So are
What?
you against using AI to improve the pictures? And how did you get permission to reprint the pictures from the museum?
That's a really simple process. I went in there and they had records of what I had used originally. And so it was easy for them to get those out again. And I paid a very small fee for the the new scan with better scanners. The only one that we did touch up was the cover. And if you can see here, there's a little bit of color in this young girl who happened to be standing there when the photographer took the picture of the men marching in strike. Because she was on the side, the original graphic designer colorized her just slightly, a little blue in her dress and a little more skin tone. The rest is naturally the way it was in that sepia toning that most old photographs have. That's the only one, and that's the only change that was made. So that when you look, you see her on the side, because when I first saw that photograph, and this young girl kind of like, oh crap, what kind of terrible thing is going to happen today? In my mind, she became Emma. And whenever I needed to get inside Emma's brain, I would look at just a photocopy of that picture that I, because I could get a photocopy done and keep it. And that would let me get back inside how Emma was feeling and be able to portray that better in the book. So this was a very, very significant picture for me that Michigan Tech Archives had. And we didn't do any more change with it on the new cover. It's exactly like that, except for the, up in this corner where the insignia will be for the award that I won. But yeah, we tried very much to leave things exactly as they were. I tried to be as accurate as I could in my writing and in Emma's narration into her journal, because it's all in first person. I read a lot of newspapers from that time that are on microfiche at Michigan Tech University Archives. I looked at a lot of advertisements in those newspapers to get a tone for the way words were used and the way people spoke. I also managed to get a hold of a copy of the coroner's inquest with the statements of all of the witnesses as to what happened on Christmas Eve of that year. I'll get to that in a minute. And I had that exactly as they said it, because it was a transcript of the inquest. So it gave me a really good idea of how people talked, especially those of Finnish derivation who were still learning English. And they always leave out the, you don't go to the sauna, you go sauna, you go bathe. They don't use, and Finnish does not have the TH sound. So the Finns always would substitute the D, the chair, the house, da, this and that. And instead of this, that, these, and those, it's this, that, these, and those. And that was written almost phonetically by whatever the stenographer was doing. So it gave me a really good flavor for how to do the dialogue in the story so that it's authentic to that day. Emma, however, is trying to educate herself and Americanize herself and really get her English good. So she pays attention to her teachers. And so when she's writing in her journal, she's trying to use the best grammar that she's been taught in school. But then the dialogue is all the way you would have heard people say it at that time. It was hard to pull that off, but I did it. And recently, and now that Modern History Press is going to do an audio version of the book, 2 weeks ago, we had a Zoom meeting with the woman who's going to do the audio version. And I had to teach her, and they recorded it so she could go over it. There's a glossary in the back too, but it doesn't have pronunciations of the Finnish words and phrases. I'm going to read you just a little of that. Ayataan, which means never. Husiana David and Poika, which is a Finnish hymn that's sung in December. Hosanna to the Son of David is basically what it means. And then Emma never knew one of her brothers, whose name was Isaac. He died as a toddler when they immigrated, and he got sick on the ship, and they had to bury him at sea. At any rate, they still celebrate his name day. In Finland, they didn't do birthdays then. It was your name day, the day you were baptized and received your Christian name. So at any rate, Aiskenpäivä is Isaac's name day. Karjala, which is a valley in Finland that most of their epic poetry came from. And in some ways, they called the local Trap Rock Valley, where a lot of them had farms, they referred to that as the Karjala up there. And then Korppua is a cinnamon toast. Loilja is the steam that you have in the sauna. Marjavelia is like a very thin jam. Basically, if you translate it roughly, it means fruit soup, but it would be a sauce of whatever berries or fruit was available, thinner than jam, but not like jelly either.
I like that. I like the concept of fruit soup. I think that's funny.
Yeah. And then Moyaka is stew. At any rate, I had to go through all of these, and all of the names with the woman who's doing this so that she can, get it to sound like it's supposed to with this Finnish immigrant family. So there's a lot of things that are going into this new edition. I didn't change any of the story per se. We did a few corrections that had always irritated me. And but other than that, the story is exactly
Okay,
the
I gotta
same
ask. Stop a
in the
second,
beginning. Yeah,
Deborah. I
sure.
gotta ask. That's a funny statement you just made. That there was parts of the story that irritated you to change. What's the biggest thing that irritated you the most about your story that you changed?
In the foreword where I talked about my own background, the last sentence and a half got cut off, and I couldn't even figure out where the error was, because by that time it was all mine again, and I had gone through craziness to get it uploaded to Lightning Source in the first place, and get all anyhow. Once I had it up there, I thought, dang, I'm just going to have to live with that because I don't know how to fix it. And so now I had the opportunity to fix it, and there were little things like a comma that was supposed to be there, or a
So
period.
it's nothing major, right?
No, nothing major. It's just
Okay.
little minor stuff that probably the most readers never even noticed it, but I knew it was there.
Right. I know
And I
those.
would
I
always
know
tell
those.
myself, Asian artists always intentionally put an error into their artwork because nothing created by humans is ever supposed to be perfect. So I would say, yeah, that's my Asian error.
Well,
Yeah.
was there a particular moment in your
But now
research
I've had
that
a chance
hit
to,
you emotionally?
fix up those little things.
Was there a moment in your research that hit you emotionally?
Yes, very much so. When I was putting together the scene of this tragedy on Christmas Eve, a group of women in Calumet scraped up a little bit of money to put on a Christmas party for the children of the striking miners. In the middle of that party, someone entered the room and yelled fire and created a panic. And everybody went running for the doors. And this was in the upstairs of a building called the Italian Hall. And the stairwell, let's see if I can get that for you, was only about 5 feet wide. And one person tripped over another, who tripped over another. 74 people were crushed to death in that stairwell. There was no fire, and most of them were children. This is a photograph that was taken the next day of that stairwell. The story was for many years that the doors open inward. They didn't. The doors opened out. I'm going to put this a little bit closer. You can see in the photo, the doors did very clearly open outward. But so many people up here still believe, oh, now that must be a different building. Those doors open inward. And you can't convince otherwise. Anyway, this was this terrible, horrid thing that happened to all these families. Their children were dead. The strike was still on. They had no money. Some of them were practically starving to death. It was very dire times. And writing that scene of what happened, and one of my sources was a woman I met in 2002. She was 8 years old at the time of the strike, and she was at that party, and she still remembered it. She was 97 when I met her. And I spent a whole morning with her, wishing I had brought a tape recorder, writing frantically in a notebook a lot of details from her childhood, from her experience at that party and what she remembered. And a lot of her words came out in what I wrote about it. That was an emotional scene. I avoided writing about it for a long time. I couldn't deal with it. I had read all the statements from the inquest. I had all of the facts. I had half a dozen different sources that talked about it in one way or another. And finally, I made Emma do it, and I made myself do it. And so I just, if it's okay, do I have time to read a little bit? she actually doesn't write about it until the 30th of December. I sat in our bedroom window, staring out at the snow and the long shadows on the ground. And I stared at the dark woods that I love in spring and summer, watching the dark night steal over everything. How I wanted to go away somewhere warm and light. I stared at my journal. Papa came up, and he set down the oil lamp and rubbed my back. He put a blanket around me. I had not realized I was shivering. And for a while he said nothing. Then he asked me in Finnish, "Why did you first start writing about the strike in your journal?" "I wanted to sort it all out," I said. "Well, maybe if you sort this out too, writing it there, it'll quit hurting your head. Let's go on," and you have to go on with it. And so then she starts writing about it, and writing in a chaotic way because it was a chaotic scene. It was really hard to write that scene and experience it from her point of view, picture myself there, try to feel what was going on. Hardest scene I have ever written in my life. And I was crying when I finished it. And a couple weeks later, I took it to my critique group and I read it to them. And they all just sat there like, and then one of them finally said, "You nailed it. Don't touch a word of it." And I didn't. I mean, I had to fix a period here and a comma there, but that's also the only scene I ever wrote that the first draft was the final version in that chapter about that tragedy and what happened that night. So yeah, it was very emotional for me.
So Deborah, if people want to go and check out this book, and I see that you've written some other books, how can people get in touch with you? How can people find your books? Tell us a little bit about that.
I have a website on Author's Den, and so actually they can just simply put my name, Deborah K. Frontiera, Deborah, middle initial K, Frontiera, the Western Frontier plus an A. They can put that into Google, hit a search, and my website's going to come up along with a lot of other stuff. Because I own my name is my domain name. So that's why you can just put Deborah K. Frontiera in a search, and my website should be the first to come up. But it is on Author's Den. Right now, I have a note up there saying that Living on Sisu is, temporarily unavailable, because when I left to go south last year, I had sold all the copies I had available, and I thought, I'll just order more from Lightning Source in the spring, because I don't usually have a lot of sales during the winter months. They can also find me on Amazon. Again, you can put Deborah K. Frontiera or the title of the book, Living on Sisu. I didn't tell you about that word. It's a Finnish word that doesn't have an exact English translation. It's guts, it's determination, it's fortitude, it's all of those and a little bit more. My personal definition is true grit with grace, because I feel a spiritual element going on in this personality thing that Sisu is what gets you through the worst that life can throw at you. If you don't have Sisu, you give up and die. You got Sisu, you get through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's a great way to do it. I think it's a great, like, I don't even know. Like, I can't follow that up, which makes sense. I mean, we're coming close on time anyways. Russell likes to give me nasty looks when we get close to time anyways. But I think that's a good, that's a good point to leave it on, is like, if you don't have that, it's important to have that for sure. Well, Deborah, I want to thank you for coming on and hanging out with us, talking to us, telling us all about your book and the new edition that's coming out. And for Dina filling in for Valerie and hanging out with us.
Thank you, Dina.
Russell, it's always lovely to talk with you. But everybody, we hope that you have a fantastic Monday, a great rest of your week. And until next Monday, bye for now, everybody. Thank you.